Well, you've got to have May showers to have June flowers, or however that goes. Nice and cool weather here. We got 63 degrees in our part of Texas. And let me see if I can get that surveillance cam thing going. Let's see here, and we'll get a live look. What you're seeing there is just about 30 minutes ago. So let's see. Here we go. Camera coming up, and there we go. There's our live video. So pretty much just a lot of stratus, overcast, not much to look at there. And hey guys, we're here for another round of severe weather coming up this week, and we've already started early. People were thinking that today was going to be a down day, and we've ended up having some severe weather here. So let's dig right into the charts and see what we got going on. This is the SPC mesoscale analysis. And we've got pretty much what's a lot of disorganized activity. A few of them are kind of resolving into discrete organized cells. And when I'm talking about storm organization, that means that they're taking on specific structures that are kind of like textbook shapes. Some will go into multi-cell type structures, others into supercells. And a big reason for that is the bulk shears. Yeah, let me see if I can find that. One thing that we like to use is the 0 through 6 kilometer bulk shear, and that's just kind of the difference in the wind between the lower levels and about close, almost to the jet stream level there. So you can see some of the stronger bulk shears that we have right now, focused on the Lubbock area, out towards the Caprock. Trying to think where on the Caprock, Turkey or Guthrie, and then Vernon right there. And indeed, you can see the cells here look a little bit more organized. And as you go further away, not so much. And definitely these cells up here in New Mexico, not only are they in a weaker regime, but it's also less unstable up that direction there. Okay, we'll take a closer look. Okay, I've got like 175 windows open because I've been working on my IFR column for August, and I've been up about 34 hours so far. This is just the nature of the deadlines, but I decided not to cancel the webcast. It's hard to do that in late May when we got weather going on. Okay, let's see here. GR level 2, there we go. Strongest storm we've had of the day so far has been in the Abilene area. I'll bring up the roads, and you can see Interstate 20 right here. And Dyess Air Force Base, where I used to forecast, located right there. And then the TV station that I've worked at, I moonlighted at a TV station that was right up the road right there. And they got a little thunderstorm over them. And you can see a little bit of the flying eagle type structure there. So kind of like a V shape. And you notice that the higher reflectivities, instead of being in the center of the storm, they're off to the edges. So that gives us what we call a reflectivity gradient. And those of you who are familiar with webcasts, you know some of my strategies for looking at severe weather, and one is overhang. So I can just go up to a higher tilt like 1.8, 1.3. Well, one problem is we're very far away from the Lubbock radar, so we've only got a few scans to work with. This one here is 123 miles away from Lubbock, but we're cutting the storm at about 27,000 feet right there. I'll put a dot there, go back down to the surface, and you can see there's a little bit of overhang there. But it would be best to look at this on the Dyess radar. Going out to Lubbock, look at that boundaries. on a chase day, that's one thing you have to keep an eye on is boundaries, and look at them on not only on the surface charts, but also on the radar. And let me see if I can animate that real quick, and you can watch them move. So you want to actually copy that over to your surface charts. It's very important. And yeah, that was another thing I was going to show you. Let me see if I can find... Okay. Yeah, somewhere underneath here I've got... there's an unfortunate plane crash there that I was covering in one of my videos. Let's see here. Let me just kind of bring it up by name here. Yeah, this is an example of one of the analyses that I did earlier this morning. Let me zoom out a little bit. I know that's kind of cramped there. Okay, that's not... the aspect ratio is off. Let me give that one more try here. We'll go with that right there. Let me sharpen that so you can see it better. Okay. Okay, let me try that one more time. So what I did is I took the Texas Tech Mesonet data, and there we go. This is what it looked like about 1 o'clock today, and you can see all the plots here from Texas Tech. I had one storm chaser out there that I've been nowcasting for, and you can see that I copied, or actually I analyzed isodrosotherms in green here, and then I went with red and I kind of like did the winds. So that helped me kind of find this little area of convergence here, for example, and this little front coming down. And I painted out the moisture axis here, and then I went to the satellite and found this little discontinuity here. So that kind of clued me in. Maybe there's a little boundary there I need to keep an eye on. Okay. Then I went to the satellite and I also found the storms. And I copied them onto the analysis there. So that's an example of one way you can do an analysis. The important thing is it helps you visualize what's happening in the atmosphere. That's the whole purpose of that. Okay, back to our charts here. So let's see, we got weather going on, and there's some of those storms out there. We've got one little wee tornado warning way out here in New Mexico, about 10, 15 miles east of Roswell. Radar indicated rotation there. That's too far away from Lubbock to really interrogate, but anyway, there's that out there. There's a little small MCS north of Monahans, north of Wink. And that's probably about it. A couple cells in southwestern Oklahoma there. And things are... We don't have like a really good boundary for these storms to be forming along. All we have today, we've had this little cold front kind of sag southward during the day. And it's been kind of a shallow front, and superimposed within the front, we've had these little outflow boundaries pushing here and there. And we don't have like a very strongly defined dry line or anything like that. We don't have a strong warm front. So the atmosphere is kind of in a recovering stage right now. We're only starting to get the southerly flow coming up from the Gulf. Let me see if I can bring up a surface chart here. I'm thinking where would be a good place to get a surface chart. I guess I'll have to bring up digital atmosphere here. So let me bring up the, yeah, that'll do it. Okay, there's Texas as of the last hour. And here you can see the cool air mass coming south. There's a leading edge of that cold air mass right there. Looks like it's kind of stalled out there south of Lubbock. And superimposed on that, we've got a couple of weak boundaries. I can see one source region we have for cool air is these MCSs we had last night that you saw in the opening video. Those generate a little bit of cool air that have kind of drifted westward. Then we've got some other MCSs up in Oklahoma that have pushed a little cold air southward also. So anyway, just kind of some different things going on. And if we take the National Centers for Environmental Prediction analysis and plot that, we will get this. And they didn't even analyze anything in this area here. They found something way up to the north and down to the south, but all they analyzed here was a trough. So that's why you have to go in and do your own analysis and find these boundaries. All right. And you can see temperatures are on the low side, 70s and even some 50s. So very cool weather this time of year. Okay. Before I go too much further, I want to check in on chat and take care of a couple of business items. And let me turn off the feed here real quick. I've got to move some windows around. Okay, that's better. So bring that back up. There we go. Yeah, we better bring that up also. Okay, let's take a look at chat there and see who we've got here. We have Sue M. checking in here. Says, evening all, gorgeous blue day, blue sky day in the mid-70s there in Indiana, drying out from the weekend thunderstorms. And I wanted to mention Sue M sent some video, and I had forgotten to air that a couple days ago, but I think I've got that set up. So that's some hail. I think that was on Friday from Sue M there. So a little bit of thunderstorm action, and that's more than we've seen here. We haven't had any hail here at my place so far this year. And from other viewers, Mike Estwick. I don't know if Mike Estwick is here, but he sent some pictures from Colorado. Again, this was on Friday also. Some very beautiful shots, and it looks like they've got some snow cover there. And there's one more shot there, and I think this was south of Boulder. I forgot the name of the town, maybe Lakewood, but very pretty skies there. I did want to mention George Kotrelman's site. He asked me to give this one a plug, and I haven't checked it out myself yet, but I went over quickly and looked at a few products, and it looked kind of neat, so maybe some of you should head over and check this out. They've got like county level model data, so that would be worth seeing how that adds to your analysis there. And let's see here. Else from other viewers, I wanted to thank Alex Walsh for a comment and Kevin McKinney for a Patreon pledge. Yeah, I hate doing this begging and stuff at Patreon. I appreciate the help there. If anybody wants to send in a few bucks, you can do that. And Will Campbell, too, sent in a pledge, too. That is very much appreciated. And I was just out to dinner last night with one of my friends talking about this video project and how ever since I started doing Patreon, that kind of made it worthwhile. I think if I wasn't doing Patreon, I probably would have just canceled tonight and try to get some sleep and then get caught up for tomorrow. But we're going to press on. Andrew checking in, saying, hey, Robert Terrell. Also saying, hey, he says, we're under various thunderstorm watches, and there are severe thunderstorm warnings around the Lubbock area in eastern New Mexico. No tornadoes yet, although there is that warning there near Roswell. Kevin McKinney saying, good evening to all. Eddie W. checking in, fun with tech, and Ryan Toomey's also. Burl H. Ryan says, tornado in Galveston Bay earlier, about noon. Mark Sanchez photo checking in. Ryan says, southeast Texas was hit pretty hard. Ron Chalfant there in L.A. says, hey, Tim and chat. Sarah Wood says, hey, all, watching this stream on Charles Edwards stream. And hello to Charles Edwards out there. Still doing Cloud9 tours, or I haven't really caught up with I'm not up to speed with all the chasing action out there on the plains, but I know this has been a very, very hit and miss season so far, but I think we'll pull it together here in a few days. I mean, we're already off to a decent start here today. 98 degrees at Ontario. Sue, I'm asking if there's a delay. Not that I know of. Ancient Astronaut says 77 degrees there at Canyon Lake. Storms says anvils on the Abilene storm are great. 43 with rain in Denver. Michael Burrell saying flash flood watches all through the middle of Georgia. And Mike Estwick, who sent in those photos. Where did they go? Mentioning these photos were from Arvada, Colorado. And that soccer complex was right by Table Mountain. Appreciate that. And if anybody wants to send in any other photos, feel free to do so. But keep in mind, I am kind of scatterbrained sometimes, and sometimes it'll take me a couple days to get to the email. That's just how it goes. I've got too many pans in the fire. So let us press on here. Okay, you can see the main tropical front is well to the south. We have to go all the way down to Laredo to find 80s and 90s. So we're underneath kind of a modified polar air mass, and that's been reinforced by the MCSs that we've had last night across this area here. So the other tail end of the polar front is backed up kind of in New Mexico here, and you can see the warmer temperatures right here around Hatch and Truth or Consequences, 82, 85. Then you go on the other side of the mountains, and we get into 67 and 69. So this is kind of a form of polar air damming against the mountains in New Mexico right there. And this is the kind of pattern where we have a lot of easterly flow, and that means upslope flow. And that's a good situation for getting thunderstorms on the mountains or graphic storms, and those will roll out onto the high plains, and if there's enough moisture, they will progress into thunderstorms and sometimes severe storms. And that's what we've seen a little bit of today. I think I'm going to switch the radar over to Midland, and we'll take a look and see what's going on there. Okay, while we're waiting on that, let's head to the upper air charts. This is the 250 millibar chart from our friends up in Canada, showing long wave trough across the central U.S. We have a ridge on the west coast and a ridge on the east coast. So that means very warm and mild weather for Washington and also Maine and New England there. But here in the central U.S., rather cool weather. Jet stream running like this all the way up to Fort Nelson down to Edmonton and down to Montana. Then we pick up a polar front jet from about Nebraska to Chicago, up to Quebec. And then we've got this other jet right here around El Paso and Tucson. And this is likely going to be a subtropical jet, because even though we have baroclinicity in Texas and Oklahoma, we don't have that in Arizona. So that 100-knot wind there is being driven by a subtropical jet right there. But it's probably coupling with a little bit of polar front jet action a little bit to the north there. 500 millibar chart kind of sorts that out. This is up at 18,000 feet, and you can see Tucson reporting 20-knot winds. Yeah, that's definitely no polar front jet. That's a subtropical jet across this part of Texas here. But you can see that as we get into the Texas Panhandle, we pick up 40 knots there, 25 at DFW, but 30 up in Springfield. So we do have a little bit of a height gradient up there at 500 millibars. The air mass that we have across the plains is kind of shallow, but it's enough to get a little bit of upper air energy going in the mid-levels. And then as we go up higher, we pick up the polar front jet to the north and then the subtropical jet to the south there. 700 millibar chart is not going to, I don't think it's going to show too much in the way of capping today. Yeah, look at those temperatures. We have 4 and 2. 4 degrees at Shreveport, but 11, that's getting into some capping. 10 is into capping, Tucson also, so cap is lurking just to the south there. Then we go to the 850 millibar chart, and this is a little bit too far north, and this is where I have to switch over to the SPC 850 chart. Let me bring that up real quick. And they're complaining that they don't have the 12Z maps in, or... Okay, so I'll try the 0Z maps. Is that for today? I believe it is. Yep, okay, that's the current plot right there. This is from 1.5 hours ago. So not much of a low-level jet in place. You can see very weak flow there in Midland and Del Rio. But if you look at the dew point plots right here in the bottom left, 13 Celsius, that's going to be mid-50s, mid-upper 50s. And then 15 degrees, that's going to be around 60-degree dew points up at 5,000 feet. So we do have deep moisture lurking just to the south. We just don't have any cyclogenesis up in Colorado to really draw that air northward. So it's just kind of stuck in the lower Rio Grande. And then as we go up to Amarillo, you see north winds right here. That's a little bit of that weak polar air working southward. And the leading edge is something like that right there. So right now we're just kind of waiting for a return flow to get established. So we'll check the GFS and take a look at that in a few minutes and see if that's in the cards for later today or later this week. We'll take a quick look at GO16 data. You can see the terminator line coming through, but let me zoom in on that. We'll check out the storms in southwest New Mexico there. Or southeast New Mexico, sorry. There we go. There we go. There's northwest of Midland right there. A little bit of an overshooting top there. And we've got this other right mover southeast of Roswell. You can see we've got an overshoot on that also. And most of this here is anvil debris. And that's kind of an annoyance because I like to keep track of boundaries. We saw the boundaries on the NEXRAD data around Lubbock, but there's not going to be any way we're going to see that on the satellite data. So all we can do is look at Mesonet data and satellite. Getting a little bit of overshooting tops on this stuff near Gould, Oklahoma, and near Altus. So those storms are struggling and maybe making it just a little bit. And there's the Abilene storm there. Getting a little bit of an overshooting top on that also. Then we'll take a look at the thickness and isobars. You can see we've got kind of a weak thermal gradient pattern, and that's because the polar air that we have over Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas, it's kind of shallow, so it doesn't show up very well. But basically what we have here is a cold front to the south, maybe becoming a quasi-stationary front there in the Four Corners area. And we're trying to get the return flow established in this part of Texas right here. Okay, let me take a quick look at the chat here. And let me just get caught up here. Sarah Wood saying one tornado in Indiana on Saturday night was rated EF0, minor damage on a farm in White County. And Sarah Wood confirms Charles Edwards is still with Cloud9 Tours. Very good. Memorial Day weekend looking more appealing as the days count down, according to Ryan Toomey's. Robert Clayton asks what site we're using. I don't know. We're kind of going through a bunch of them at a very rapid pace, so I can't really tell you for sure. What site am I using? The German site. You're probably talking about the Katchum and Vetter site. I don't think I've used that just today yet, but I can bring that up really quickly. I think maybe you're talking about, let's see here, let me bring this up. Are you asking about this site, the satellite data? Yeah, the satellite data, this is the Marshall Space Flight Center. And that's the link right there, weather.msfc.nasa.gov. Now, the other German site, that's another place to get GO16 data. And we can bring that up very quickly. I'll just run through very quickly. What I like to do is bring up this raster carton. It gives you more flexibility. Norden, Sudamerica. Then it's going to generate this map here. Just zoom in until you get down to your target area. So you can see I'm kind of zooming on southeast New Mexico here. Then once you get it the way you like it, you can just go over to the left here and click on Color Super HD. If you click on these alter ones, that's going to give you the old ghost data, so keep that in mind. So anyway, there's our storms there. Of course, we've lost a lot of light already. But if I back that up a little bit, you'll see probably a little bit of those thunderstorms. Anyway, so there's the Katchum and Vetter site right there. Okay, time to head into the forecast. And since we have storms going on here in Texas, I think it's a good idea to start with a mesoscale model. Now you can see the 0Z model here from the high resolution rapid refresh. Doesn't look like we have those in yet. So I stand corrected, we do. So we'll check that out. 0Z, 23rd. Let me double check that. Yeah, okay. So we've got the benefit of the radiosonde data and the 0Z data. So let's see how this confirms. We know that there's a couple of storms in southeastern New Mexico here, one here, another in the Abilene area. That looks good. There's a couple in the Altus area. And this I'm not too sure about. But anyway, things will look kind of in the ballpark here. And then as far as the thermal field, I can see the thickness lines here kind of showing the cooler air up to the north, so that looks fairly reasonable. So let's take a look at the trend over the next 6 hours. Okay, so I've run this up to about 1 in the morning. Looks like a few of the thunderstorm areas kind of die away. One in the Fort Worth area kind of holds together. Another one in the Lubbock area also holds together. And I think this was along the leading edge of that little cold front that was sagging southward. In this complex here, I think it's starting to get a little bit of weak return flow from the Gulf. We can switch over to the 850 and see what that's doing. Then I have to advance this up to 6Z. Nope, doesn't really look like much return flow to me. But I see a very noisy wind pattern. You see the winds, they're kind of like from every which way. And I think what we have here is a little bit of a, kind of like a bubble, like that. And then there's another one here. So there's a lot of small-scale boundaries kind of superimposed in all this. And that ends up making the forecast accuracy a little more challenging here. So looks like we got another shot of strong northerly winds coming out of Kansas too. You see 30 knots on the top of that screen right there. So let's just check out the rest of the forecast and see what it's going for here. So basically bringing a couple of small clusters of storms from Lubbock down to Abilene, down to the Waco area, and down into the Tyler and Palestine and Buffalo area by 6 in the morning. And interestingly, 5 in the morning is when I was recording that lightning footage that you saw at the beginning. So this has been kind of a recurring pattern. So then by early morning, things die down. Looks like another high-based MCS up in the Red River. And later in the day, I don't know, we're going to have to switch over to the... what we should do now is take a look at the NAM. And we'll take a look at the 3-kilometer model and see what that's got for us. Now, this is where we can look at consistency of the model. Except we don't have 0Z data, so we're going to have to be looking at 18Z data. But let's just take a look and see what it shows. A couple clusters, one coming down the Red River, one coming down I-20 overnight. Then it's got that dying away in the Tyler area by dawn. We saw this elevated cluster in the Red River area tomorrow on the high-resolution rapid refresh up here. And then by evening, it looks like we have got some cool, dry air working in. So it looks like that kind of scours out a lot of the moisture and theta E's. And we get a little bit of a line of showers out around the Little Rock, Shreveport, and Lufkin area tomorrow evening. So I would imagine we're probably going to be seeing a slight risk in this area tomorrow at least. And this has all the hallmarks of cool air filtering southward going into Tuesday and Wednesday. And let's kick over to the GFS here and see what that's got. So one problem that we have is there's just so much to cover. I know some of you are in Denver, some are in Indianapolis, some are in Little Rock, and there's no way I can cover everybody's particular area. And the focus that I have on this weathercast is just kind of learning how to read the charts and learning how to put together a forecast. And my idea is that you can take these concepts and then go to these same sites and try to apply them and get practice that way. And if you don't get it right, give it another shot the next day, come back to the channel and try to pick up some more, ask questions, and bit by bit you'll get there. And, you know, I've been in your shoes also years ago, so don't worry about it. It's no big thing. Okay, so overnight, tomorrow morning, you can see that big ridge moving southward. See this high pressure over northern Colorado. So we've got cold air advection coming down through the central plains tomorrow evening, or I'm sorry, tomorrow morning. And then by evening, cold front is moving into that Little Rock, Shreveport, Houston line right there. So probably a few thunderstorms along that. And then things push eastward. Then we got this 546 decameter thickness blob here, which means very cool air for Iowa, Kansas City, and Columbia. Very strong cold front up in the Pacific Northwest. Look at that there. 540 decameter cold pool right there. So yeah, pretty strong front for this time of year going through Washington there. So when we do the webcast Wednesday night, we'll have kind of a messy frontal system working through the East Coast. The baroclinic portion will be in Florida, in Georgia. So it looks to be showery, stormy in that part of the country. Warm front in maybe North Carolina like that. And then the occlusion up to Ohio like that. And then here comes the next system out of the Pacific Northwest. Through the Colorado area, we've got a lee side trough. And now, return flow, no, not yet. We're still ridged out on the coast. So we're going to stay shut down here on the Great Plains Tuesday and Wednesday. Let's see how Thursday looks. Our webcast on Thursday is the Gulf Open. Yes, it is. We've got a gradient on the coast, and we're bringing some moisture northward. So probably we're starting to establish a dry line west of I-35, so maybe there's a chance of maybe there's an outside chance of some cells there around Abilene, Brownwood, maybe Childress. We'll have to see as that date gets closer. The other front up to the north, it starts filtering southward a little bit. Then getting into Memorial Day weekend, Friday. Cyclogenesis out in the Texas Panhandle. Bringing more moisture northward. I think we'll probably see a few showers. Northwest Texas, maybe western Oklahoma on this day. Got a bit of a polar air mass dipping southward here. And then out west, there's some more of that polar front. And then on Saturday, Well, one wave moves up into the Midwest right there towards Chicago and the Quad Cities. Cold front down I-44 to Oklahoma there. And then I think we've got our dry line set up, maybe something like that right there. So probably a chance for thunderstorms on in the Red River area, maybe DFW, Oklahoma City, and also up in the Chicago area, Rockford, Peoria, Davenport, and maybe Indianapolis there again on Saturday. Then for Sunday, cold front makes a little bit more progress southward. You can see some ridging building in here. Pattern gets a little bit more vague at this time. I guess there's probably a bit of a warm front maybe in the Appalachians like that. I think this may be becoming occluded up here in Ontario. So probably best chance for thunderstorms here up and down the Ohio Valley and possibly down into Little Rock and the DFW area. But you can see that the moisture from the Gulf is split. Some of it's going that way, and some of it is going up towards San Antonio. And you can see a little bit of an upslope pattern here. So you see that upslope pattern take effect here. I'm not too sure if that's going to mean thunderstorms or not. We're talking on Monday morning next week. And then Monday afternoon. Yeah, look at that big bend there, upslope and easterly flow. Maybe you can catch a tornado there in Big Bend National Park. Then Tuesday, looks like we kick another high pressure area southward. That is just not good for chasing. I think we are going to get some opportunities in between now and then, though. It's just we're going to be dealing with kind of an unusually active progression of systems moving from northwest to southeast. Then later next week, let's see here, we get kind of a northerly system here. Looks like things slow down here for Texas, maybe more of a dry line setup here. So things starting to look a little bit better around the 1st or 2nd. Then we get more kind of a downslope day. See that right there? Looks like things maybe dry out a little bit around the 3rd or 4th, but it is June though, so that just means the moisture will probably move into Missouri and Arkansas. Another strong system coming in from the northwest right there. And then we're getting to the end of the run, the 5th and 6th. This is almost a Father's Day, so I don't think we can put too much gambling money on charts for the 7th at this point. Okay. So that's about as far as I'll go with that there, and hope you enjoyed that there. Quick look at the chat there. What site do I use to find the sounds that has all the different information on one pop-up? The sounds that has all of the different information on one pop-up. The background is black with... Sorry, I've been up 34 hours. I just don't... I'm probably not comprehending that question very well. But looks like Fun with Tech is here to help out. Pointing Michael at Pivotal Weather there. Okay. And let's see here. Ryan Toomey says, we need the rain. Fire has dominated his state, Florida. So that's definitely not very good news. Anyway, thanks for watching the webcast. And I'm going to finish up my column and hopefully get some sleep. And maybe we'll see you tomorrow. Take care all, and we'll see you then.